back to another live. I know I haven't been live that much this week. It has been very crazy, very chaotic, not gonna lie. And yeah, I mean, this week it was like my life is literally a TV show. That's what it was giving, literally. But I don't even really want to talk about it because, you know, I'm living in the present and not the past. So let's do what we gotta do. And yeah, so we are here. We are at the big 40, the big 40, the big 40 for Hucker Reads 48 Laws of Power by Mr. Robert Greene. So guys, please go ahead and support Mr. Robert Greene, okay? Okay. I kind of want to put this like on something so I don't have to hold it today. 5 seconds. It's getting a little close and personal. Got the light. Should I turn this on? Oh, this light is hot. This is like this is actually my candle warmer. Can you hear me better this way? Let me put this down a little bit. Okay. Okay, guys. Hey. This is so ghetto. Okay, guys. This is better. I don't know if you can hear me. But we are reading The 48 Laws of Power by Mr. Robert Greene. I think it's better if I'm closer. I don't know. Maybe you could pick me up. We'll see. I'll see when I watch this video back. So guys, we are at Law 40. Let me put this like this, okay? I should have got this a little bit more ready before. So we are at Law 40. Despise the free lunch. Judgment. What is offered for free is dangerous. It usually involves either a trick or a hidden obligation. What has worth is worth paying for. By paying your own way, you stay clear of gratitude, guilt, and deceit. It is also often wise to pay the full price. There is no cutting corners with excellence. Be lavish with your money and keep it circulating. I think this is better. Be lavish with your money and keep it circulating. For generosity is a sign and a magnet for power. Okay, so, hey Rick. Hey Green Boy. I'm so funny. Okay, guys, so let's get into it. This one, I feel like this is pretty good. This one, oh, this one is low-key long. Hey, Kevin. Why? I'm a little bit, it's a little specific. Why specifically my right hand? If you tell me why, I'll show you. Hey, Thunder Beast. Welcome back. Missed ya. Happy Saturday. Yes, yes, yes. End of the week, guys. I am literally probably gonna make a vlog this week about, hey Karina, welcome to the live. But I'm probably gonna be making a vlog this week or something about voting for the first time. So get out and go vote if you haven't. You know, it's your right if you are in America. Thanks, Rick. You're nice. And I try to give positive energy so then you could spread the positive energy, I spread it, and yeah, we can all get into it. Hey, Lucas. Thanks. You're so sweet. Thanks. You guys can hear me, right? Can I like? Oh, of course. You don't got to ask me. Thanks, girl. But yeah, guys, so get out, go out and vote. I'm literally going to make a vlog about voting for the first time, but I'm not going to tell you guys who I vote for, but maybe you can guess. And if you voted already, you know, we're all talking about it. But the energy lately, like, the energy has been wild. Anybody else going through it? Okay, so you already know what we're here for, though. If you've been here before, thanks for coming back. And if you haven't been here before, welcome. Aw, Haran. Thank you, sweetie. Oh, my God. Wait. What do we gotta do? Can you guys hear the music in the back or no? I don't know. But yeah, so what were we talking about? This book? I think so. Oh my god. Yeah, guys. Hey. Hola, JM. Oh, Matthew, thank you so much. Thank you. You guys are so sweet. I love the energy today. Love it. Okay, guys. So let's get into it. You guys. Oh, I don't know. Okay, let's get into it. And today is like a bareface day, so don't judge me. I didn't put literally any makeup on today. I literally just, I like rolled up out of bed and went to work, grown lady-ish. How old am I? I'm an adult. Yeah, a lady never tells, okay? So let's get into it. Also, guys, please subscribe. We're almost at 200 subscribers, so please. Thanks, P-Dub. You're so sweet. Alafeo. Whatever that, I don't know what that means. Translate, please. Okay, so let's do it. Money and power. In the realm of power, everything must be judged by its cost, and everything has a price. Thank you, Spacey Macy. Oh, so sweet. You guys are so great. Everything has a price. What is offered for free or at bargain rates often comes with a psychological price tag. Complicated feelings of obligation, compromises with quality, the insecurity those compromises bring, on and on. The powerful learn early to protect their most valuable resources, independence, and the room to maneuver. By paying the full price, they keep themselves free of dangerous entanglements and worries. Okay? Being open and flexible with money also teaches the value of strategic generosity, a variation on the old trick of giving when you are about to take. By giving the appropriate gift, you put the recipient under obligation. Generosity softens people up to be deceived. By gaining a reputation for liberality, you win people's admiration while distracting them from the power plays. By strategically spreading your wealth, you charm the other courtiers, creating pleasure and making valuable allies. Hey, Kazumi, welcome back. And yeah, turn on those ears. Aw, Spacey, thank you. I try to be, honestly, I really am not a perfect person and I do have a lot of stuff to work on, but I do try to be as kind and caring as I can be, you know what I'm saying? A gift and a curse, a gift and a curse, a gift and a curse. Okay. So, look at the masters of power, the Caesars, the Queen Elizabeths, the Michelangelos, the Medicis. Not a miser among them. Even the great con artists spend freely to swindle. Tight purse strings are unattractive. When engaged in seduction, Casanova would give completely, not only of himself, but of his wallet. Thanks, Spacey. On the road to 200 subscribers. What should I do when I reach 200 subscribers? Keep posting. It's like, for 200 subscribers, do you do anything? Like have a party or anything? I don't know. I don't know. But okay. The powerful understand that money is psychologically charged, and that it is also a vessel of politeness and sociability. They make the human side of money a weapon in their armory. Yes. How did you know? You guessed it or you read the title? I don't know. These types represent the opposite pole to the powerful, and you must learn to recognize them, either to avoid their poisonous natures or to turn their inflexibility to your advantage, okay? So, the very first one, are you ready? It is the greedy fish, okay? The greedy fish take the human side out of money, cold and ruthless. Oh, Yeah, here I am, another person doing the same thing, right? Cold and ruthless. They see only the lifeless balance sheet. Viewing others solely as either pawns or obstructions in their pursuit of wealth, they trample on people's sentiments and alienate valuable allies. No one wants to work. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Oh, thanks, Spacey. You're nice. We're all nice people. You know what? We are good people and we have great energy. Let's all say it at the same time, right? So, no one wants to work with their greedy fish, and over the years, they end up isolated, which often proves their undoing. Greedy fish are con artists, bread and butter. Lured by the bait of easy money, they swallow the ruse, hook, line, and sinker. They are easy to deceive, for they spend so much time dealing with numbers, not with people, that they become blind to psychology, including their own. Either avoid them before they exploit you or play on their greed to your game. Period. Period. What did you guys think of a greedy fish? Have you ever met a greedy fish in your life? Let me know, let me know, let me know. Okay, guys. Now, the next one. The bargain demon. Powerful people judge everything by what it's cost, right? Not just in money, but in time, dignity, and peace of mind. And this is exactly what bargain demons cannot do. Wasting valuable time digging for bargains, they worry endlessly about what they could have gotten elsewhere for a little less. On top of that, the bargain item they do buy is often shabby. Perhaps it needs costly repairs, or or will have to be replaced twice as fast as a high quality item. The cost of these pursuits not always in money, though the price of a bargain is often deceptive, but in time and in peace of mind discourage normal people from undertaking them. But for the bargain demon, the bargain is an end in itself, right? These types might seem in time an inner peace, if not hidden, financial expense of the irrational pursuit of a bargain. What? Is this frozen? My mom is taking. Bye, Spacey. Oh my god. Guys, I don't know. It's like frozen on my end. Okay. Bye, Spacey. It was nice to meet you. Oh, wait. What do? Peace. That's what you're supposed to do, guys. So whenever you leave, like anywhere, we're bringing this back. Peace. You know what I'm saying? If you were a child in the 2000s, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, guys. But hey, no cap. Welcome to the live stream. Okay. It's your birthday. Oh my god. So you're a Scorpio. So let me tell you about Scorpios. I love Scorpios. They're so fun. They're intense. They're so real. I feel like if you want some good advice, you want some real hard advice, you need to go to a Scorpio. They're going to tell you what's up. For real. But bye, Spacey. And guys, let's all say happy birthday to No Cap Daniel. Happy birthday. But yeah, guys, so the people who are like bargain demons, right? These people, like, okay, just because you get something for cheap, it does not mean that is good. Like, cheaper does not always mean better. And sometimes when you get something cheap, it's like, oh my god, now you're paying for this and you're that. Like, cheaper is not always better. Sometimes it's better to pay for something that's more expensive, but it's a higher quality and it's gonna last longer, instead of being a bargain demon. Do you guys know any bargain demons? Let me know. Okay, the next one. The sadists. Financial sadists play vicious power games with money as a way of asserting their power. They might, for example, make you wait for money that is owed to you, promising you that check in the mail. Or if they hire you to work for them, they meddle in every aspect of the job, haggling and giving you ulcers. Sadists seem to think that paying for something gives them the right to torture and abuse the seller. They have no sense of the courtier element in money, and if you are unlucky enough to get involved with this type, accepting a financial loss may be better in the long run than getting entangled in their destructive power games. You know what I call a sadist? I call it a control freak. And honestly, I cannot work under somebody like that. I'm gonna give you guys a really, really quick story, and then I'll get back to reading. But back in the day, like earlier this year, I was working for somebody and I was getting paid like $30 an hour to be like a secretary or something like that. But it was like he was very controlling. Like he was like, oh my God, if I typed and had a typo and I would like go back really quickly, he would be like, no, don't do it like that. So like literally every little thing, like he was just right next to me, breathing over my back. And I was like, I cannot work like this. Like it doesn't even matter if I'm getting paid $30 an hour. I can't do this. It's for my peace of mind. So a sadist, they will literally suck the life out of you. Trust me, don't be one of them. Okay, the next one. The indiscriminate giver. Generosity has a definite function of power. It attracts people, softens them up, makes allies out of them. But it has to be used strategically and with a definite end in mind. Indiscriminate givers, on the other hand, are generous because they want to be loved and admired by all. And their generosity is so indiscriminate and needy that it may not have the desired effect. If they give to one and all, why should the recipient feel special? Attractive as it may seem to make an indiscriminate giver your mark, in any involvement with this type, you will often feel burdened for their insatiable emotional needs. Interesting. Do you guys know anybody like that? I mean, sometimes it's like, what is it, like the people that just have a bunch of money and they try to buy friends, and that's kind of what it's giving, right? Let me know if you're any of those people before. I mean, it's nothing wrong being that person, but it's better if you address it and you see like, oh shit, like I'm a little bit of a sadist, so let me go ahead and reel it back a little bit, you know, like just try to see if you're one of those people. And yeah, so let's get into the first little red blurb, this little red story. Okay, it's called Buried Treasure. Many weak-minded persons in cities hope to discover property under the surface of the earth and make some profit from it. In the Maghreb, there are many Berber students who are unable to make a living by natural ways and means. They approach well-to-do people with papers that have torn margins and contain either non-Arabic writing or what they claim to be the translation of a document written by the owner of the buried treasures, giving the clue to the hiding place. In this way, they try to get their sustenance by persuading the well-to-do to send them out to dig and hunt for treasure. Occasionally, one of these treasure hunters displays strange information or some remarkable trick of magic with which he fools people into believing his other claims. Although, in fact, he knows nothing of magic and its procedures, the things that have been said about treasure hunting have no scientific basis, nor are they based upon factual information. It should be realized that although treasures are found, this happens rarely and by chance, but not by systematic search. Those who are deluded or afflicted by these things must take refuge in God from their inability to make a living and their laziness in this respect. They should not occupy themselves with absurdities and untrue stories. And this is by the Muqaddimah Ibn Khaldun in 1332 to 1406. Have you ever heard that before? I haven't. That's my first time reading that. Okay, guys, let me read the next little red blurb and then we'll get into the transgression of the law, okay? Ready? The miser, the miser. A miser. I want to hold a microphone so bad, but I have like this little tiny one. The miser. A miser, to make sure of his property sold, of his property, sold all that he had, and converted it into a great lump of gold, which he hid in a hole in the ground, and went continually to visit and inspect it. This roused the curiosity of one of his workmen, who, suspecting that there was a treasure, when his master's back was turned, went to the spot and stole it away. When the miser returned and found the place empty, he wept and tore his hair. But a neighbor who saw him in this extravagant grief and learned the cause of it said, "Fret thyself no longer, but take a stone and put it in the same place, and think that this is your lump of gold. For as you never meant to use it, the one will do you as much good as the other. The worth of money is not in the possession, but in its use." Fables, Aesop, 6th century BC. I feel like that's so true. Like a lot of the times, hold on, let me move this really quickly. Oops. Okay, how's this lighting? Is it good? Yeah? Okay. But I feel like that's so true. Like, the power isn't in the money itself, it's what the money can do for you. You know what I'm saying? So it's really used as a tool, and it shouldn't be like worshipped, or they're actually talking about that in church right now, like how people, you can only serve one thing. So what is the number one thing you serve in your life? Is the number one thing you serve money? Ask yourself that. Okay, so let's get into the transgressions of the law. Transgression number 1. After Francisco Pizarro conquered Peru in 1532, gold from the Incan Empire began to pour into Spain, and the Spaniards of all classes started dreaming of the instant riches to be had in the New World. The story soon spread of an Indian chief to the east of Peru who once each year would ritually cover himself in gold dust and dive into a lake. Soon word of mouth transformed an El Dorado, or hi Gemma, welcome back. I feel like, when was the last time you were here? Where have you been? The golden man into the empire called El Dorado, wealthier than the Incan, where the streets were paved and the buildings inlaid with gold. This elaboration of the story did not seem implausible, for surely a chief who could afford to waste gold dust in a lake must rule a golden empire. And soon the Spaniards were searching for El Dorado all over northern South America. In February of 1541, the largest expedition yet in this venture, led by Pizarro's brother Gonzalo, left Quito in Ecuador. Resplendent in the armors and colorful silks, 340 Spaniards headed east, along with 4,000 Indians to carry supplies and serve as scouts. 4,000 swine. The last time I saw you was Monday, and I have been trying to find you. Yeah, I haven't really been live this week. Like I said, this week has been so crazy, so chaotic. So I really have, this is probably the first time I've been live all week. So might be. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, has it been chaotic for you too? Like, is it in the energy, or is it just a me thing? I don't know. So they had 4,000 swine, dozens of llamas, and close to 1,000 dogs, but the expedition was soon hit by the torrential rain, which rotted its gear and spoiled its food. Meanwhile, as Gonzalo Pizarro questioned the Indians they met along the way, those who seemed to be withholding information or who had not even heard of the fabulous kingdom, he would torture and feed to the dogs. Oh my God. Word of the Spaniards' murderousness spread quickly among the Indians, who realized that the only way to avoid Gonzalo's wrath was to make up stories about El Dorado and send him as far away as possible. As Gonzalo and his men followed the leads the Indian gave them, then they were only led further into the deep jungle. It's so funny. The explorer's spirit sagged. Their uniforms had long since shredded, their armor rusted, and they threw it away. Their shoes were torn to pieces, forcing them to walk barefoot. The Indian slaves they had set out with had either died or deserted them, and they had eaten not only the swine, but the hunting dogs and the llamas. Oh my god, oh my god. They lived on roots and fruit, and realizing that they could not continue this way, Pizarro decided to risk river travel, and a barge was built out of rotting wood. But the journey down the treacherous Napo River proved no easier. Setting up camp on the river's edge, Gonzalo sent scouts ahead to barge to find Indian settlements with food. He waited and waited for the scouts to return, only to find that they had decided to desert the expedition and continue down the river on their own. Thanks, Gemma. Oh, wait. Wait. Like that. Okay. The rain continued without end. Gonzalo's men forgot about El Dorado. They wanted only to return to Quito. Finally, in August of 1542, a little over 100 men from an expedition originally numbering in thousands managed to find their way back. To the residents of Quito, they seemed to have emerged from hell itself, wrapped in tatters and skins, their bodies covered in sores and so emaciated to be unrecognizable. For over a year and a half, they had marched in an enormous circle, 2,000 miles by feet. You hear me? Okay, perfect, because that would be really awkward if I was talking this whole time and nobody could hear the whole thing. That would be really freaking awkward. The vast sums of money invested in the expedition had yielded nothing, no sign of El Dorado, and no sign of gold. Okay, guys? So, now that I just read you that story, let me know what you think about that story if you were able to follow along, and let's go ahead and interpret what the freak I just read to you guys, okay? So even after Gonzalo Pizarro's disaster, the Spaniards launched expedition after expedition in search of El Dorado. And like Pizarro, the conquistadors would burn and loot villages, torture Indians, endure unimaginable hardships, and get no closer to gold. The money they spent on such expeditions cannot be calculated. Yet, despite the futility of the search, the lure of the fantasy endured. Not only did the search for El Dorado cost millions of lives, guys, both Indian and Spanish, it helped bring the ruin of the Spanish Empire. Wah, wah, wah. Gold became Spain's obsession. The gold that did find its way back to Spain, and a lot did, was reinvested in more expeditions or in the purchase of luxuries rather than in agriculture or any other productive endeavor. Whole Spanish towns were depopulated as their menfolk left to hunt gold, and farms fell into ruin, and the army had no recruits for its European wars. By the end of the 17th century, the entire country had shrunk by more than half of its population. The city of Madrid had gone from a population of 400,000 to 150,000, guys. That's so crazy. With diminishing returns from its efforts over so many years, Spain fell into a decline from which it never recovered. That's psychotic. I didn't even know that. So, power requires self-discipline. The prospect of wealth, particularly easy and sudden wealth, plays havoc with these emotions. The suddenly rich believe that more is always possible. The free lunch, the money that will fall into your lap, is just around the corner. In this delusion, the greedy neglect everything power really depends on: self-control, the goodwill of others, and so on. Understand, with one exception, death, no lasting change in fortune comes quickly. Sudden wealth rarely lasts, for it is built on nothing solid. Never let lust for money lure you out of your sorry, never let lust for money lure you out of the protective and enduring fortress of real power. Make power your goal and money will always find you. Leave El Dorado for suckers and fools. Oh my God, that sounds like Trump. Suckers and fools, suckers, and I don't know what he says. Okay, guys. So let me go ahead and read the next little 3 blurbs for you guys, okay? So the first one. There is a popular saying in Japan that goes, excuse me, I don't speak Japanese as my first language, but ready? Tada yori taki mono wa nai, meaning nothing is more costly than something given free of charge. The unspoken way, Michiru Matasumoto, 1988. Hey, no cap, welcome back. Or should I say Daniel? Hey, Spacey Macy, where have you guys been? Oh, welcome back, guys. I'm still here reading to you. Okay, so the next one. This is called Money. Money. Yusuf ibn Jafar el-Amudi used to take sums of money, sometimes very large ones, from those who came to study with him. A distinguished legalist visiting him once said, I am enchanted and impressed by your teachings, and I am sure that you are directing your disciples in a proper manner. But it is not in accordance with tradition to take money for knowledge. Besides, the action is to open to misinterpretation. El-Amudi said, I have never sold any knowledge. There is no money on earth sufficient to pay for it. As for misinterpretation, the abstaining from taking money will not prevent it, for it will find some other object. Rather should you know that a man who takes money may be greedy for money, or he may not. But a man who takes nothing at all is under the gravest suspicion of robbing the disciple of his soul. People who say I take nothing may be found to take away the volition of their victim. By the Dermis Probe, Idris Shah, 1970. Thanks, Gemma. Miss you. I'll see you next time. Have a good day. You're back. Oh, aunts. Okay, guys. Well, welcome back. See you later. Everybody say bye to Gemma. See you next time. All right, guys. So, this next little blurb I'm so excited for. It's called The Man Who Loved Money Better Than Life. This sounds good. Okay. In ancient times, there was an old woodcutter who went to the mountain almost every day to cut wood. It was said that this old man was a miser who hoarded his silver until it changed to gold, and that he cared more for gold than anything else in all the world. One day, a wilderness tiger sprang at him, and though he ran, he could not escape, and the tiger carried him off in its mouth. The woodcutter's son saw the father's danger and ran to save him, if possible. He carried a long knife, and as he could run faster than the tiger who had the man to carry, he soon overtook him. The father was not much hurt, for the tiger held him by his clothes. When the old woodcutter saw his son about to stab the tiger, he called out in great alarm, "Do not spoil the tiger's skin! Do not spoil the tiger's skin! If you can kill him without cutting holes in his skin, we can get many pieces of silver for it. Kill him, but do not cut his body." While the son was listening to his father's instruction, the tiger suddenly dashed off in the forest, carrying the old man where the son could not reach him, and he was soon killed. That's so sad, guys. That's such a sad story. That's a Chinese fable by Various Fables from Various Places by Diana D. Prima in 1960. Okay, guys? So, I felt like that was a pretty good story. Like, you're really about to die by a tiger, and you really care about not messing up the tiger skin over your life. Like, okay, that's crazy. But let's go ahead and get into transgression number 2. Ooh. In the early 18th century, no one stood higher than the English society than the Duke and the Duchess of Marlborough. The Duke, having led successful campaigns against the French, was considered Europe's premier general and strategist. He and his wife, the Duchess, after much maneuvering, had established herself as the favorite of Queen Anne. Aww. Who became ruler of England in 1702. In 1704, the Duke's triumph at the Battle of the Blenheim made him a toast of England, and to honor him, the Queen awarded him a large plot of land in the town of Woodstock, and the funds to create a great palace there, calling his planned home the Palace of Blenheim. The Duke chose as his architect the young John Van Brugh, a kind of Renaissance man who wrote plays as well as designed buildings. And so construction began in the summer of 1705 with much fanfare and great hopes. Van Brugh had a dramatist's sense of architecture. His palace was to be a monument to the Marlborough's brilliance and power, and was to include artificial lakes, enormous bridges, elaborate gardens, and other fantastical touches. From day one, however, the Duchess could not be pleased. She thought Van Brugh was wasting money on yet another stand of trees. She wanted the palace finished as soon as possible. The Duchess tortured Van Brugh and his workmen on every single detail. She was consumed with petty matters. Although the government was paying for Blenheim, she counted every single penny. Eventually, her grumbling about Blenheim and other things too created an irreparable rift between her and Queen Anne, who in 1711 dismissed her from the court, ordering her to vacate her apartments at the royal palace. When the Duchess left, fuming over the loss of her position and also her royal salary, she emptied the apartment of every fixture down to the brass doorknobs. Damn. Over the next 10 years, work on Blenheim would stop and start as the funds became harder to procure from the government. The Duchess thought Van Brugh was out to ruin her. She quibbled over every Oops. Sorry. This little microphone. She quibbled over every carload of stone, bushel of lime, counted every extra yard of iron railing or foot of wainscot, hurling abuse of the wasteful workmen, contractors, and surveyors. Marlborough, old and weary, wanted nothing more than to settle into the palace in his last years. But the project became bogged down in a swamp of litigation, the workmen suing the Duchess for wages, and the Duchess suing the architect right back. Sounds like America. Sorry. In the midst of the interminable wrangling, the Duke died. He had never spent a night in his beloved Blenheim. And after Marlborough's death, it became clear that he had a vast estate worth over $2 million, more than enough to pay for the finishing of the palace. But the Duchess would not relent. She held back Van Brugh's wages as well as the workmen's, and finally had the architect dismissed. The man who took his place finished Blenheim in a few years. Following Van Brugh's designs to the letter, Van Brugh died in 1726, locked out of the palace by the Duchess, unable to set foot in his greatest creation. Foreshadowing the Romantic movement, Blenheim had started a whole new trend in architecture, but had given its creator a 20-year nightmare. That sounds like a mess, honestly. That sounds so chaotic and so messy. I'm cool off of that. I would have quit, honestly. After like maybe year 5, I would have definitely like, okay, you could have somebody else do this. So let's go ahead and interpret what the freak I just read. For the Duchess of Marlborough, money was a way to play sadistic power games. She saw the loss of money as a symbolic loss of power, and with Van Brugh, her contortions went deeper still. He was a great artist, and she envied his power to create, to attain a fame outside of her reach. She may not have had his gifts, but she did have money to torture and abuse him over the pettiest details and to ruin his life. This kind of sadism, however, bears an awful price. It made construction that should have lasted 10 years take 20. It poisoned many a relationship, alienated the Duchess from the court, deeply pained the Duke, who wanted to live peacefully in Blenheim, created endless lawsuits, and took years off of Van Brugge's life. Finally, too, posterity had the last words. Van Brugge is recognized as a genius, while the Duchess is forever remembered for her consummate cheapness. The powerful must have grandeur of spirit. They can never reveal any pettiness, and money is the most visible arena in which to display either grandeur or pettiness. Best spent free spent blah, 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 blah. Best spent best spend freely, then and create a reputation for generosity, which will in the end pay great dividends. Never let financial details blind you to the bigger picture of how people perceive you. Their resentment will cost you in the long run. And if you want to meddle in the work of creative people under your hire, at least pay them well. Your money will buy their submission better than your displays of power. Okay, guys, so I need a little bit of water. Give me 2 seconds. Let me know what you guys think of the first half of this chapter and what I've read so far to you. Okay, so let's go ahead and read this next little red blurb, and this one happens to be out of the Bible, the Bible. Okay, so this is the story of Moses and Pharaoh. It is written in the histories of the prophets that Moses was sent to Pharaoh with many miracles, wonders, and honors. Now the daily ration for Pharaoh's table was 4,000 sheep, 400 cows, 200 camels, and a corresponding amount of chickens, fish, beverages, fried meats, sweets, and other things. All of the people in Egypt and all his army used to eat at his table every day. For 400 years, he had claimed divinity and never ceased providing this food. When Moses prayed, saying, "O Lord, destroy Pharaoh," God answered his prayer and said, "I shall destroy him in water, and I shall bestow all his wealth and that of his soldiers on you and your peoples." Several years passed by after this promise, and Pharaoh, doomed to ruin, continued to live in all his magnificence. Moses was impatient for God to destroy Pharaoh quickly, and he could not endure to wait any longer. So he fasted for 40 days and went to Mount Sinai, and in his communing with God, he said, "O Lord, thou didst promise that thou wouldst destroy Pharaoh, and still he has forsaken none of his blasphemies and pretensions. So when wilt thou destroy him?" A voice came from the truth saying, "O Moses, you want me to destroy Pharaoh as quickly as possible, but 1,000 times 1,000 of my servants want me never to do so, because they partake in his bounty and enjoy tranquility under his rule. By my power I swear that as long as he provides abundant food and comfort for my creatures, I shall not destroy him." Moses said, "Then when will thy promise be fulfilled?" God said, "My promise will be fulfilled when he withholds his provisions from my creatures. If he begins to lessen his bounty, know that his hour is drawing near." It chanced that one day Pharaoh said to Haman, "Moses has gathered the sons of Israel about him and is causing us disquiet. We know not what will be the issue of his affair with us. We must keep our stores full, lest at any time be without resources. So we must have our daily rations and keep the saving in reserve. He deduced 2,000 sheep, 200 cows, and 100 camels, and similarly every 2 or 3 days reduced the ration. Moses then knew that the promise of the truth was near to fulfillment. For excessive economy is a sign of decline and a bad omen. The master of tradition say that on the day that Pharaoh was drowned, only 2 ewes had been killed in his kitchen. Nothing is better than generosity. If a man is rich and desires without a royal charter to act like a lord, if he wants men to humble themselves before him, to revere him and call him Lord and Prince, then tell him every day to spread a table with victuals. All those who have acquired renown in the world have gained it mainly through hospitality, while miserly and avaricious are despised in both worlds. And this is by the Book of Government or Rules for Kings by Nizam al-Mulk, and it was written in the 11th century. Okay, guys, so now that I have given you the transgressions and the foundation of what I've just read to you, we're going to go ahead and get into the observances of the law. So there are a couple different observances for Law 40, where there's a few. The first one, Observance 1. Pietro Artino, son of the lowly shoemaker, had catapulted himself into fame as a writer of biting satires. But like every Renaissance artist, he needed to find a patron who would give him a comfortable lifestyle while not interfering with his work. Wouldn't we all want that? In 1528, Artino decided to attempt a new strategy in the patronage game. Leaving Rome, he established himself in Venice, where few had heard of him. He had a fair amount of money he had managed to save, but little else. Soon after he moved into his new home, however, he threw open its doors to rich and poor, regaling them with banquets and amusements. He befriended each and every gondolier, tipping them royally. In the streets, he spread his money liberally, giving it away to beggars and orphans. Washerwomen. Among the city's commoners, word quickly spread that Artino was more than just a great writer. He was a man of power and a king of lord. Artists and men who influence soon began to frequent Artino's house. Within a few years, he made himself a celebrity. No visiting dignitary would think of leaving Venice without paying him a call. His generosity had cost him most of his savings, but he had bought him influence and a good name and a cornerstone in the foundation of power. Since in Renaissance Italy, as elsewhere, the ability to spend freely was a privilege of the rich, the aristocracy thought Artino had to be a man of influence since he spent money like one. And since the influence of a man of influence is worth buying, Artino became the recipient of all sorts of gifts and monies. Dukes and duchesses, wealthy merchants, and popes and princes competed to gain his favor and showered him with all kinds of presents. Artino's spending habits, of course, were strategic, and the strategy worked like a charm. But for real money and comfort, he needed a great patron's bottomless pockets. Having surveyed the possibilities, he eventually set his sights on the extremely wealthy Marquis of Mantua and wrote an epic poem that he dedicated to the Marquis. This was a common practice of writers looking for patronage. In exchange for a dedication, they would get a small stipend, enough to write yet another poem to the Marquis. To write another poem. Where am I? So that they would spend their lives in a kind of constant servility. Artino, however, wanted power, not a measly wage. He might dedicate a poem to the Marquis, but he would offer it to him as a gift, implying by doing so that this was not to be hired hack looking for a stipend, but that he and the Marquise were equals. Argentino's gift-giving did not stop there. As a close friend of two of Venice's greatest artists, the sculptor Jacopo Sansovino and the painter Titian, he convinced these men to participate in the gift-giving scheme. Argentino had studied the Marquise before going to work on him and knew his tastes inside and out. He was able to advise Sansovino and Titian what subject matter would please the Marquise most. And when he sent a Sansovino sculpture and a Titian painting to the Marquise as gifts from all three of them, the man was beside himself in joy. Over the next few months, Argentino sent other gifts, swords, saddles, and glass that was the Venetian specialty, things he knew Marquise prized. Soon he, Titian, and Sansovino began to receive gifts from the Marquise in return, and the strategy went further. When the son-in-law, a friend of Argentino's, found himself in jail in Mantua, Argentino was able to get the Marquise to arrange his release. Argentino's friend, a wealthy merchant, was a man of great influence in Venice. By turning the goodwill he had built up with the Marquise to use, Argentino had now bought this man's indebtedness to, and he in turn would help Argentino when he could. The circle of influence was growing wider. Time and time again, Argentino was able to cash in on the immense political power of the Marquise, who also helped him in many court romances. Eventually, however, the relationship became strained as Argentino came to feel as that the Marquis should have requited his generosity better. He would not lower himself to begging or whining, since the exchange of gifts between the two men had made them equals. It would not seem right to bring up money. He simply withdrew from the Marquis's circle, and he hunted for other wealthy prey, settling first on the French King Francis, then the Medicis, the Duke of Urbino, Emperor Charles V, and more. In the end, having many patrons meant he did not have to bow to any of them, and his power seemed comparable to that of a great lord. Can you imagine living during that time? Like, it just seems so political then, like, and strategic. I don't know. But that's more for men, because, like, women didn't really have that many rights then. Okay, so interpretation. Argentino understood two fundamental properties of money. First, that it has to circulate to bring power. What money should buy is not a lifeless object, but power over people. By keeping money in constant circulation, Argentino bought an ever-expanding circle of influence that in the end more than compensated him for his expenses. Second, Argentino understood the key property of the gift. To give a gift is to imply that you and the recipient are equals at the very least, or that you are the recipient's superior. A gift also involves the indebtedness or obligation. When friends, for instance, offer you something for free, you can be sure that they expect something in return, and that to get to it, they can make you feel indebted. The mechanism may or may not be entirely conscious on their part, but this is how it works. Argentino avoided such encumbrances on his freedom. Instead of acting like a maniacal who expects the powerful to pay his way in life, he turned the whole dynamic around. Instead of being indebted to the powerful, he made the powerful indebted to him. This was the point of the gift-giving, a ladder that carried him to the highest social levels. By the end of his life, he had become the most famous writer in Europe. Understand, money may determine power relationships, but those relationships need not depend on the amount of money you have. They also depend on the way you use it. Powerful people give freely, buying influence rather than things. If you accept the inferior position because you have no fortune yet, you may find yourself in it forever. Play the trick that Argentino played on Italy's aristocracy. Imagine yourself an equal, play the Lord, give freely, open your doors, circulate your money, and create the facade of power through an alchemy that transforms money into influence. Okay, guys. Whew. We're almost done. We're almost done. Okay, so observance of the law 2. Okay, sorry. Soon after Baron James Rothschild made his fortune in Paris in the early 1820s, he faced the most intractable problem. How could a Jew and a German, a total outsider to French society, win the respect of the xenophobic French upper class? Rothschild was a man who understood power. He knew that his fortune would bring him status, but that if he remained socially alienated, neither his status nor his fortune would last. So he looked at the society of the time and asked what would win their hearts. Charity, of course. The French couldn't care less. Charity. The French couldn't care less. Political influence, he already had that. And if anything, it only made people more suspicious of him. The one weak spot he decided was boredom. In the period of restoration of the monarchy, the French upper classes were bored. So Rothschild began to spend astounding sums of money on entertaining them. He hired the best architects in France to design his gardens and ballroom. He hired Marie Antoine Carême, the most celebrated French chef, to prepare the most lavish parties Paris had ever witnessed. No Frenchman could resist, even if the parties were given by a German Jew. Rothschild's weekly soirees began to attract bigger and bigger numbers, and over the next few years, he won the only thing that was secure in outsiders' power: social acceptance. So let's go ahead and interpret that little story. Strategic generosity is always a great weapon in building a support base, particularly for the outsider. But the Baron de Rothschild was cleverer still. He knew it was his money that had created the barrier between him and the French, making him look ugly and untrustworthy. The best way to overcome this was literally to waste huge sums, a gesture to show he valued French culture and society over money. What Rothschild did resembled the famous potlatch feast of the American Northwest. By periodically destroying its wealth in a giant orgy of festivals and bonfires, an Indian tribe would symbolize its power over other tribes. The base of its power was not money, but its ability to spend, and its confidence in a superiority that would restore to it all that the potlatch had destroyed. In the end, the Baron's soirees reflected his desire to mingle, not just in France's business world, but in its society. By wasting money on his potlatches, he hoped to demonstrate that his power went beyond money into the more precious realm of culture. Rothschild may have won social acceptance by spending money, but the support base he gained was one that money alone could not buy. To secure his fortune, he had to waste it. That is strategic generosity in a nutshell. The ability to be flexible with your wealth, putting it to work not to buy objects, but to win people's hearts. Interesting. Very, very interesting. I do have comments about that, but I'm not gonna say anything because you never know who's watching your videos, right? So the next little red blurb that I have for you guys is called The Flame-Colored Cloak. During the campaign of Cambyses in Egypt, a great many Greeks visited the country for one reason or another. Some, as was to be expected for trade, some to serve in the army, others, no doubt, out of mere curiosity to see what they could see. Among the sightseers was Asa's son, Siloson, the exiled brother of Polycrates of Samos. While he was in Egypt, Siloson had an extraordinary stroke of luck. He was hanging about the streets of Memphis, dressed in a flame-colored cloak, when Darius, who at that time was a member of Cambyses' guard and not yet of any particular importance, happened to catch sight of him, and seized with a sudden longing to possess the cloak, came up to Silason and made him an offer for it. His extreme anxiety to get it was obvious enough to Silason, who was inspired to say, "I am not selling this for any money, but if you must have it, I will give it to you for free." Darius thereupon thanked him warmly and took it. Silason, at the moment, merely thought he had lost it by his foolish good nature. Then came the death of Cambyses and the revolt of the Seven against the Magus, and Darius ascended to the throne. Silason now had the news that the man who requests for a flame-colored cloak he had formerly gratified in Egypt had become the king of Persia. He hurried to Susa, sat down at the entrance of the royal palace, and claimed to be included in the official list of the king's benefactors. The sentry of the guard reported his claim to Darius, who asked in surprise who the man might be. "For surely," he said, "as I have so recently come to the throne, there cannot be any Greek to whom I am indebted for a service. Hardly any of them have been here yet, and I certainly cannot remember owing anything to a Greek. But bring him in all the same, that I may know what he means by this claim." The guard escorted Silason into the royal presence, and when the interpreters asked him who he was and what he had done to justify the statement that was the king's benefactor, he reminded Darius of the story of the cloak and said that he was the man who had given it to him. "Sir," he exclaimed Darius, "you are the most generous of men. For while I was still in a person of no power or consequence, you gave me a present, small indeed, but deserving then as much gratitude from me as would the most splendid of gifts today. I will give you in return more silver and gold than you can count, that you may never regret that you once did a favor to Darius, the son of Histapes." "My lord," replied Silason, "do not give me gold or silver, but recover Samos for me, my native island, which now, since Oreates killed my brother Polycrates, it is in the hands of one of our servants. Let Samos be your gift to me, but let no man on the island be killed or enslaved." Darius consented to Silason's request and dispatched a force under the command of Otanes, one of seven, with the orders to do everything that Silason had asked. And this is by the histories of Herodotus in the 5th century BC. So this is the last little red blurb for this page. It says, money is never spent to so much advantage as when you have been cheated out of it. For one stroke you have purchased prudence. By Arthur Schopenhauer, 1788 to 1860. Okay, guys, so this is going to be observance number 3. The Medicis of Renaissance Florence had built their immense power on fortune. They had made a banking. But in Florence, centuries-old republic that it was, the idea of money bought power went against all the public that it was. The idea that money bought power went against all the city's proud democratic values. Cosimo de' Medici, the first of the family to gain great fame, worked around this by keeping a low profile. He never flaunted his wealth, but by the time his grandson Lorenzo came of age in the 1470s, the family's wealth was too large and their influence too noticeable to be disguised any longer. Lorenzo solved the problem in his own way by developing a strategy of distraction that had served people of wealth ever since. He became the most illustrious patron of the arts that history has ever known. Not only did he spend lavishly on paintings, he created Italy's finest apprentice school for young artists. It was one of these schools that the young Michelangelo first caught the attention of Lorenzo, who invited the artist to come and live in his house. He did the same with Leonardo da Vinci. Once under his wing, Michelangelo and Leonardo requited his generosity by becoming loyal artists in his stable. Whenever I'm at chapter 40, page 342, if you want to open your book there. Thanks. Whenever Lorenzo faced an enemy, he would wield the weapon of patronage. And when Pisa, Florence's traditional enemy, threatened to rebel against it in 1472, Lorenzo placated its people by pouring money into its university, which had once been its pride and joy, but long ago lost its luster. The Pisans had no defense against this insidious maneuver, which simultaneously fed their love of culture and blunted their desire for battle. Let me know if you're there. So let's go ahead and interpret what I just read to you guys. Lorenzo undoubtedly loved the arts, but his patronage of artists had practical function as well, for which he was keenly aware. In Florence at the time, banking was perhaps the least admired way of making money, and was certainly not a respected source of power. The arts were the other pole, the pole of the quasi-religious transcendence. By spending on the arts, Lorenzo diluted people's opinions of the ugly source of his wealth, disguising himself in nobility. There is no better use of strategic generosity than that of distracting attention from the unsavory reality and wrapping oneself in the mantle of art or religion. Observance number 4. Louis XIV had an eagle eye for strategic power of money. When he came to the throne, the power nobility had recently proven a thorn in the monarchy's side and seethed with rebelliousness. So he impoverished these aristocrats by making them spend enormous sums on maintaining their position in the court, making them dependent on the royal largesse for their livelihood. He had them in his claws. Next, Louis brought the nobles to their knees with strategic generosity. It would work like this. Whenever he noticed stubborn courtier whose influence he needed to gain or whose troublemaking he needed to squelch, he would use his vast wealth to soften the soil. First, he would ignore his victim, making the man anxious. Then the man would suddenly find that his son had been given a well-paid post, or that the funds had been spent liberally in his home region, or that he had been given a painting he had long coveted. Presents would flow from Louis's hands. Finally, weeks or months later, Louis would ask for a favor he had needed all along. A man who he had once vowed to do anything to stop the king would find that he had lost the desire to fight. A straightforward bribe would have made him rebellious. This was far more insidious, basing hardening in earth in which nothing could take root. Louis loosened the soil before he planted his seeds. So let's go ahead and interpret that story. Louis understood that there was a deep-rooted emotional element in our attitude towards money, an element going back to childhood. When we are children, all kinds of complicated feelings about our parents center around gifts. We see the giving of gift as a sign of love and approval, and that emotional element never goes away. The recipients of gifts, financial or otherwise, are suddenly vulnerable as children, especially when the gift comes from someone in authority. They cannot help opening up. Their will is loosened as Louis loosened the soil. To succeed best, the gift should come out of the blue. It should be remarkable for the fact that this gift is like it has never been given before, for being preceded by a cold shoulder from the giver. The more often you give to particular people, the blunter the weapon becomes. If they don't take your gifts for granted, becoming monsters of ingratitude, they will resent what appears to be charity. The sudden, unexpected one-time gift will not spoil your children. It will keep them under your thumb. Okay, guys. I feel like I've been reading for so long. Oh my god. We're almost done, guys. We're almost done. Observance number 5. The antique dealer Fushimiya, who lived in the city of Edo, former name of Tokyo, in the 17th century, once made a stop at the village tea house. After enjoying a cup of tea, he spent several minutes scrutinizing the cup, which he eventually paid for and took away with him. A local artisan watching this waited until Fushima left the shop, then approached the old woman who owned the tea house and asked her who this man was. She told him it was Japan's most famous connoisseur, the antique dealer of the Lord of Izumo. The artisan ran out of the shop, caught up with Fushima, and begged him to sell him the cup, which must clearly be valuable if Fushima judged it so. Fushima laughed heartily. "It's just an ordinary cup of bisenware," he explained, "and it is not valuable at all. The reason I was looking at it was that the steam seemed to hang about it strangely, and I wondered if there wasn't a leak somewhere." Devotees of the tea ceremony were interested in any odd or accidental beauty in nature. Since the artisan still seemed so excited about it, Fushima gave him the cup for free. The artisan took the cup around, trying to find the expert who would appraise it at a higher price. But since all of them recognized it as an ordinary teacup, he got nowhere. Soon he was neglecting his own business, thinking only of the cup and the fortune it could bring. Finally, he went to Edo to talk to Fushima at his shop. There, the dealer, realizing that he had inadvertently caused this man pain by making him believe the cup of great worth, paid him 100 ryo, or gold pieces, for the cup and as a kindness. The cup was indeed... Oh, you want to say hi?
Sure. I want to
Well,
ask
all of my lives left. Oh,
I didn't
here.
charge my phone last night.
What?
I fell asleep really early.
Doing what?
I was super tired, because I had to go help my dad out with his truck when he got home, thanks.
Yeah.
And then my buddy came over because I'm having issues with my motorcycle. So he got a new one, so he wanted me to ride it.
Oh,
So
did he like it?
Yeah, I got super tired quick though.
Oh.
Yeah, I rode it for like 20
Well,
minutes
maybe
and
you
I
were
was
just tired yesterday.
went right to sleep, bro.
What time? Like 8?
8:30. 8.
Oh
I
my
have
god,
an
there's
old man
customers.
sleeping schedule.
Oh my god, I gotta hurry up. Okay,
Thanks.
no problem. Since the artisan was still seemed so blah blah blah, the cup was indeed mediocre, but he wanted to rid the artisan of his obsession while also allowing him to feel that his effort had not been wasted. The artisan thanked him and went on his way. Soon word spread of Fushima's purchase of the teacup. Every dealer in Japan clamored for him to sell it, since the cup he had bought for 100 ryo must be worth much more. He tried to explain the circumstances in which he had bought the cup, but the dealers could not be dissuaded. Fushima finally relented and put the cup for sale. During the auction, two buyers simultaneously bid 200 ryo for the teacup, and then began to fight over who had bid first. Their fighting tipped over a table, and the teacup fell to the ground and broke into several pieces. The auction was clearly over. Fushima glued and mended the cup and stored it away, thinking the affair finished. Years later, however, the cup, which by then had become legendary, Fume explained as a piece. He said, "It's not up to much, but a tea master prizes sentiment and association more than intrinsic value." He bought the cup for a high sum, a glued together work of less than ordinary craftsmanship, had become one of the most famous objects in Japan. So let's interpret this. The story shows first an essential aspect of money, that it is humans who have created it and humans who instill it with meaning and value. Second, with objects as with money, what the courtiers most value are the sentiments and emotions embedded in them. These are what make worth having. The lesson is simple. The more your gifts and acts of generosity play with the sentiment, the more powerful they are. The object of the concept that plays with a charged emotion or hits a chord of sentiment has more power than the money you squander on an expensive yet lifeless present. So, two little red blurbs, guys. I'm getting so tired from reading. Literally so tired. Oh my god. Okay. A gift of fish. Kung Yi Siu, premier of Lu, was fond of fish. Therefore, people in the whole country conscientiously bought fish, which they presented to him. However, Kung Yi would not accept the presents. Against such a step, his younger brother remonstrated with him and said, "You like fish indeed. Why don't you accept the present of a fish?" In reply, he said, "It is solely because I like fish that I would not accept the fish they gave me." Indeed, if I accept the fish, I will be placed under an obligation to them. Once placed under an obligation to them, I will sometime have to bend the law, and if I bend the law, I will be dismissed from the premiership. After being dismissed from the premiership, I might not be able to supply myself with fish. On the contrary, if I do not accept the fish from them and not dismissed from the premiership, however fond of the fish, I can always supply myself with fish. Han Fei Shu, Chinese philosopher, 3rd century. Observance 6. Akimoto Suzumoto, a wealthy adherent of the tea ceremony, once gave a page of 100 real gold pieces and instructed him to purchase a tea bowl offered by a particular dealer. When the page saw the bowl, he doubted it was worth that much, and after much bargaining, got the price reduced to 95 real. Days later, Suzumu had put the bowl to use, and the page proudly told him what he had done. "What an ignoramus you are," replied Suzumoto. "A tea bowl that anyone asks 100 pieces of gold can be a family heirloom." Coconut? Coconut?
Coconut?
No, not coconut. Not coconut. Thank you. Huh?
And chocolate.
I do like chocolate, but not coconut.
That's it.
It's coconut.
No le gusta el coco. A mí tampoco. But it's okay.
Tiny.
Stop. Take.
Thank you.
Taste it.
Oh,
Yeah.
it tastes good.
I told you. I told you. Están riquísimos. ¿Dónde los
Thank
compras?
you.
Reinaldi.
I told you.
I know, right? Okay. A tea bowl that anyone asks for 100 pieces of gold can only be a family heirloom, and a thing like that is sold when the family is pressed for money. And in that case, they will be hoping to find someone who will give them even 150 for it. So what sort of fellow is it to not give it and consider the feelings? Quite apart from that, a curio that you give 100 real for something, not something worth having, but the one that only costs 95 gives a mean impression. So never let me see that tea bowl again. And he had the bowl locked away and never took it out. So interpretation. I'm reading for so long, guys, I can't even say words anymore. When you insist on paying less, you may save your 5 Rio, but the insult you cause and the cheap impression you create will cost you in reputation, which is a thing of the powerful prize above all. Learn to pay the full price, and it will save you a lot in the end. Observance 7. Sometime near the beginning of the 17th century in Japan, a group of generals whirled away the time before a big battle by staging the incense-smelling competition. Each participant anted up the prize for the contest winners, bows, arrows, saddles, and other items a warrior could covet. The great Lord Date Masumani happened to pass by and was induced by to participate. For a prize, he offered the gourd that hung up from his belt. Everyone laughed, for no one wanted to win this cheap item. A retainer of the host finally accepted the gourd. When the party broke up, however, the generals were chatting outside the tent. Matsumuni brought over his magnificent horse and gave it to the retainer. "There," he said, "a horse has come out of the gourd." The stunned generals suddenly regretted their scorn of Masumunu's gift. Interpretation. Masumunu understood the following: money gives its possessor the ability to give pleasure to others. The more you can do this, the more you attract admiration. And when you make a horse come out of a gourd, you give the ultimate demonstration of your power. I took money only from those who could afford it, and were willing to go in with me in the schemes they fancied would fleece others. They wanted money for its own sake. I wanted it for the luxuries and pleasures it would afford me. They were seldom concerned with human nature. They knew little and cared less about their fellow men. If they had been keener students of human nature, if they had given more time to companionship with their fellows and less to the chase of the almighty dollar, they wouldn't have been such easy marks. By Yellow Kid Will. So close your eyes and imagine this, unless you're driving or handling heavy machinery. The river. To protect yourself or to save resource, you dam it up. Soon, however, the waters become dank and pestilent. Only the foulest forms of life can live in such stagnant waters. Nothing travels on them, all commerce stops, destroys the dam, and when water flows and circulates, it generates abundance, wealth, and power in ever larger circles. The river must flood periodically for good things to flourish. All right, guys, authority. The great man who is a miserable is a great fool, and a man in high places can have no vice so harmful as avarice. A miserly man can conquer neither lands nor lordship, for he does not have plentiful supply of friends with whom he may work his will. Whoever wants to have friends must not love his possessions, but must acquire friends by means of fair gifts. For in the same way that the lodestone subtly draws iron to itself, so the gold and silver that a man gives attracts the hearts of men. Romance of the Rose, Guillaume de Lourdes, 1200 to 1238. Okay, guys. Reversal of this law, okay? This is the last little bit, so I hope you enjoy it. So this is if what I just read to you guys previously is unapplicable to you. So this is the reversal of the law. The powerful never forget what is offered for free is inevitably a trick. Friends who offer favors without asking for payment will later want something far dearer than the money you would have paid them. The bargain has hidden problems, both material and psychological. Learn to pay then and to pay well. On the other hand, this law offers great opportunities for swindling and deception if you apply it from the other side. Dangling the lure of a free lunch is the con artist's stock and trade. No man was better than the most successful con artist of our age, Joseph Whale, aka the Yellow Kid. The Yellow Kid learned early that what made his swindles possible was his fellow humans' greed. This desire to get something for nothing, he once wrote, has been very costly to many people who have dealt with me and with other con men. When people learn, as I doubt they will, that they can't get something for nothing, crime will diminish and we shall all live in great harmony, or easy money. Over the years, Will devised many ways to seduce people with the prospect of easy money. He would hand out free real estate. Who could resist such an offer? And then the suckers would learn they had to pay $25 to register the sale. Since the land was free, it seemed like worth such a high fee. And Yellow Kid would make thousands of dollars on phony registration. In exchange, he would give suckers a phony deed. Other times, he would tell suckers about a fixed horse race, or his stock would earn 200% in a few weeks. As he spun these stories, he would watch the suckers' eyes open wide at the thought of free lunch. The lesson is simple. Bait your deceptions with the possibility of easy money. People are essentially lazy and want wealth to fall into their laps rather than to work for it. For a small sum, sell them advice on how to make millions. P.T. Barnum did this later in life. And that small sum will become a fortune when multiplied by thousands of suckers. Lure people in with the prospect of easy money, and you have room to work still more deceptions on them. Since greed is powerful enough to blind your victims to anything, and as the Yellow Kid said, half of the fun is teaching a morale lesson. Greed does not pay. Okay, guys. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining this live and interacting with me and listening and learning and opening up their books to this page. Honestly, as we just learned, generosity and paying your employees well will keep them loyal and it will make them want to stay. And when you're someone that's super controlling and a sadist and stuff like that, you're not buying loyalty that way. So yeah, and then also despise the free lunch. If somebody gives you something for free, just know nothing in this world is free. everything has a cost. So they might not be trying to charge you right then and there, but trust and believe they will be asking for something later. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for interacting with me in the chat. And if you made it this far, please subscribe, turn on the post notifications, check out my last video. And guys, we're almost at 200 subs. So thanks so much for watching. It's been your girl, Anna with Angel. Bye.